And welcome to season 3 of the True Patriot podcast, folks. In our interview series here, we're going to continue on with the interview, and we are checking back in with one of our premier anglers in the True Patriots Anglers Network on the East Coast, Mr. David Fluker. Mr. Fluker, how the heck are you, man?
Doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me back on the show.
Of course, brother. Of course. So you're in South Carolina now, right? You moved.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Just trying to keep tabs on everything. Half the time I keep forgetting what state I'm in. So try to keep tabs on you guys. That's right. So do you guys have like an off season down there like we do in the winter areas up here?
No. So there's fishing all year round down here. Some of the best fishing is going to be that late fall going into winter. Mainly there's no on the lake. How
big is your spare bedroom that you have?
It's big enough, brother. Come on down.
Yeah, it's I tell you, I was just telling you off air that I hate the fact that I have an off season. You know, I've been trying to squeak out our waters in it's mid to low 50s now up here, but we have Colorado. The issue we have is we have reservoirs. Okay, all of our water is man-made, and much of it is agricultural and it's drinking water. Uh-huh. So at a certain point, they just shut down. They don't allow access. So, I mean, for literally 5 out of 12 months, some of these bodies of water are just, you can't even put a kayak on them.
No.
You know, and it's like, now some of them, you can put a kayak, but it's got to be hand launch only. So you can't, like guys like me who have a trailer now, and I trailer my yak down to the water and shove it off the trailer, you know, fully loaded and geared. Can't do that anymore. So it's like, because they close the ramps off. So yeah, man, I'm so jealous of those areas of the country where you can just keep on fishing, because it's a good time right now.
Oh, it's a great time right now. Unfortunately, I'm boatless right now, but
we're going to get to that.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. That was crazy. So now last season, David, you fished primarily the MLF BFL series. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Yep. Awesome. Did you fish any other events, like local events, little derbies?
No, I fished a few charity events that were here. Actually, one which is a really good event that I fished. A buddy of mine, Bobby Edwards, puts it on around September 11th. It's a veterans tournament. So every boat, pro or just a local guy, will take a veteran out for the day. And it's a tournament, but at the end of the day, it's about having fun, man, and sharing the water and sharing the day with those guys. So
heck yeah, good stuff. So BFL series this past year, were you able to get in a full schedule last year?
I did.
Awesome.
I fished the full schedule of the South Carolina division. I fished one Buckeye division event. I ended up throwing fish back on the way back in. It wasn't enough, and I wasn't fishing for points. So.
Yeah, I've been in those positions myself where it's you know it's not a point thing, and quite frankly, you almost, unless you got a shot at a check, you almost don't want to go in there and mess up somebody else's points, you know, type thing. It's like
that was my mindset. I said, you know, I had a couple fish going back in, and I'm like, I'm not doing it for the points. Just to let someone slide in 2-3 fish into that spot. So
exactly, awesome. Sometimes those are all right though. There's a good to clear your head and just, you know, go up there. It's like we're not worried about striking out. You're just swinging for the fence, see what comes out of it.
That's exactly what that was. I wasn't worried about striking out. I kind of went in for the kill, and there was actually the lake had been infested with grass over the last couple of years, and it was a lot of it. And I couldn't find anything significant. And about halfway through the day, I let my co-angler know, "Hey, buddy, it's your world, man. Whatever you want to do." I ended up catching a couple, and I was like, "It's your world, buddy. Let's get you 5." So
I hear you. Yeah, I have been there. So talk us through it, man. This last season here, where did you guys start out at?
Yeah, so this past year, we started out at Lake Hartwell in February. Nice. That was good. I believe we came back to Lake Murray.
Nice.
And from Murray, we went over to Clarks Hill, which is where I had was kind of like the turn of my season. Oh no, I'm sorry. We went to Santee Cooper second, and then over to Murray, then Clarks Hill. And Clarksville was kind of the turn of my season. Up until that point, it was a little rough. I had a few different things going on, mainly the move, the new baby. My brain just wasn't. The first two tournaments of the year, I was always afraid when I was because we were still living in Ohio at the time, and I was fishing the South Carolina division. So the first two tournaments of the year, I kept thinking my wife was going to go into labor while I'm here, and my brain and there's no excuses, just all the exterior things that go on during fishing, the mental side. My mental just wasn't completely into it.
Yep.
And the first tournament after my daughter was born was I want to say it was Murray, where I had boat issues, I had battery issues, which it killed my tournament. I was on some good fish. Still caught a couple, weighed in at, I believe it was 10 o'clock. Still took great points from that. But it hurt me. I was on a lot of fish, and, just the name of the game. Been doing it long enough. You know that random things like that happen quite frequently.
I was going to say, we can control what we can control. And other than that, we just adapt and move with what's in front of us there.
Yeah.
Good. So Clark's Hill. Yeah. So that straddles South Carolina and Georgia. There's a couple, the pro trail, there's a few pro trails that actually go to Clark's Hill next year. Yes. So one of the other guys that's now in our little Anglers network on the kayak side, the real deal, Joshua Deal himself, he fishes Clark's Hill quite a bit. So that's, you guys got common ground there. I'll try to connect you guys up. He also fishes out of a boat as well. He's got his gas boat. He just fishes competitively on the pro side on the kayaks.
Kayak side. Yeah, that's awesome.
But
Clark's Hill is a great, only if nothing else, it's a beautiful lake. Just like most of the lakes here in South Carolina, they're amazing. But Clark's Hill was a turning point for me. I was able to catch fish all day doing what I love to do, and that's throwing a jig.
Nice.
Anyone knows me knows I throw a jig, and I'll throw it all day if I can. And the Clark's Hill was kind of like that turning point for my season. It was kind of down up until that point. But that lifted my spirits, and going into the final tournament, which qualified me for the third straight year for a regional championship. So awesome. Yeah.
Good stuff. So talk to me, man. So from one jig guy to another jig guy, talk to me. Spill the juice. What were you throwing out there?
Yeah. So I actually have the jig here. It's something I wanted to show you. It's a Blue Rock custom tackle. It's called a 1099 jig. What's cool about this jig that I like is it's compact, but it has a stout hook. It's not a flimsy hook. It's not going to bend out, but it's a very compact jig. Now, the size that I throw, kind of my primary size, is going to be it's a 7/16, which is, I believe it's close to like a half ounce.
Yeah.
But that's one of the only sizes I throw, but I do like the smaller sizes. Whenever I can't get away with throwing a heavy jig, I'll throw a smaller fitness style. But even that half ounce is still compact. It's still smaller than what your average jig is, and it's going to have a stout hook, which, 90% of my fish this year, I've weighed a fish in every tournament I've fished that I've weighed a fish came off a 1099 jig. It was just one of those deals. I'm already a confident person throwing a jig, but it just gets bit more than, anything else that I was throwing. So I ended up throwing it all season, and I never put it down.
And dude, that is so important when right? I'm cool here. If I'm not seeing bites, it's something else. It's not what I'm throwing. I know what I'm throwing is going to work. It's just a matter of, that next. Now, in fishing lingo, we know what that means. For those of you out there that are not around the fishing scene this in depth, no, we don't really know. But in our mind, that's what we're saying. Okay. You have to eliminate factors, bait, presentation, location, all these things. That confidence piece, when you have that next decision is going to be the right one, man, that just goes so far when you're making these decisions and times on the line with that.
Yeah.
Now the jig that you're throwing there, is that tungsten or is that standard?
No, it's not tungsten. It's a standard lead head jig. It's a hand tie jig. Jesse French, he owns Blue Rock Custom Tackle. He hand ties all of these jigs. They are. Before I move on from this point, I do want to make a point on your last point. There's something about being comfortable with a lure. So if I'm in an area, and this happened a few times this year, I was in an area where I said I wasn't getting bit on this jig, but I couldn't put it down. Well, I didn't put it down. I just switched the colors and just kept going down the bank, and I started getting bit. And so
Nice.
a lot of times when it comes to being comfortable with a bait, I'll switch every color and every size that I have before I put it down. I know
That's
a jig can get
awesome.
bit, so.
Dude, that's this year, myself, I had, started off, didn't realize how big of a change kayak fishing was going to be compared to boat fishing. Learned right at the beginning of the season, having my butt served to me on a platter by these guys out here in Colorado, and took a month off and refocused, got some good advice all the way around the board from a couple people. Got re-energized, went back after it. And during my hot and heavy stretch, right before I left home, I was talking about, those sponsors that have been with me forever.
Okay.
All-Terrain Tackle Bass Jigs has been with me the longest. And like you, I just believe in these things. I love these jigs. I have more than I'll probably ever be able to throw, but I never find myself wanting or needing something I don't have, in their line. But I just told my wife, I don't know why I got away from throwing one, but I'll tell you what, I'm throwing one when I get up to Lewis and Clark. One way or another, a jig's getting thrown in that Missouri River. And dude, at the end of the day, to fast forward, make a long story short, it was the killer. I put a 3/8 ounce finesse jig in my hand and went to work on cut banks, and just literally and it was one jig is all it took. That thing is so beat up because those were some big fish that were hitting that thing. And I was throwing that right into the middle of just some gnarly, one little pocket, in this, sticks and twigs and grass, and I'd pitch it and get it right in there, kind of rattle it through so it would shake its way down and just horse it out of there with that 17-pound floral. And yeah, man, it got back to the point where I changed out the jig just because that one I just kind of retired it, hung it up because it was just all chipped up and beat up at the end of that. But every place I went, whether I planned to throw it or not, it was in the back of the kayak. It was rigged up and it was sitting there in a moment's notice. I'll throw that over a creature bug. I'll throw that over a Senko. I'll throw it over any of that. Yeah,
I'm the same way. But when mine start getting beat up and chipped up, and they're at the ugliest point that they can be, I just cut the line, retie, and throw it right back out. I love my jigs to get beat up. So with these 1099 jigs, man, they get beat. I throw them. Nice. I really throw them all day long. And
that's awesome.
They're beat up. I won't touch them up. I won't touch the paint up. I'll throw a new trailer on there, throw it right back out there.
See, I retire mine on my little wall of, Hall of Fame. Yeah. Basically, I just kind of put them up there going, I remember you.
Well, I'll throw it, I'll lose it.
We have got to get together sometime next season and just go out and just put a beating on someplace with some jig bite. That would just be a blast. The biggest fish I've ever caught when I've been out have been on jigs. It's always been that way. Oh. Mike McClelland, I'll never forget this. Mike McClelland, we're at the Mississippi River, La Crosse, and he's hitting them on a jig on cut banks, and he says, "Biggins like the jig, man. I'm just telling you that right now. When McStick gives you that advice, you're gonna follow it."
Definitely. The biggest fish my PB came on a jig.
Nice.
And I caught a stud this year at Clarks Hill on a jig, going down a bank that was overlooked by every 180 some other anglers overlooked this bank. It was a long bridge with riprap, and there was a shelf. So the rock kind of came in the water. Then there was another shelf in about 12 feet of water that dropped off again. And I went straight down that shelf, up and down, caught all my fish.
Nice.
I probably caught my biggest fish within a 500-yard stretch.
That's awesome.
I stayed there. And so jigs definitely catch big fish, but not only big fish, they catch all fish. So
Blue Rock Tackle. That's who it is?
Yeah. Okay. So Blue Rock Custom Tackle.
Custom Tackle. Okay.
Yeah, so they're actually out of Southern Ohio.
Nice.
It's a family-owned company. The owner Jesse French is a great friend of mine, and he makes a darn good jig. So
It's awesome.
I wouldn't sell it. If it wasn't, I wouldn't put my name on it if it wasn't a legit jig. But I do throw it, and I have lots of them. And every co-angler that's fished with me this year has at some point had one in his hand, or I've given or he bought some. So.
That's
I'll make them a
awesome, man.
believer.
Yeah, you and I are of the same lineage when it comes to there's a lot of great products out there. We're not saying these are the only ones, but if you hear me say I recommend it, it's because I use it, believe in it. You and I, we believe the same way about that.
Absolutely.
So and we'll make sure in production, I'll get Blue Rock Custom Tag. I'll get their stuff put up on here, website, and all that good stuff. So folks, give them a check there. If you see what Mr. Fluker's slinging around out there, it's called what's the series again you were throwing?
Called a 1099 jig.
1099. Gotcha. Awesome. Well, good stuff. So we're at Clarks Hill. Was that about mid-season at that point?
Yeah. So Clarks Hill was so it was the third tournament in.
Yep.
Don't fact check me. I'm not 100% sure. I believe it was the fourth tournament. So we went Hartwell, Santee, Murray, Clarks Hill. So a little bit over halfway in is when that tournament was.
So talk to me. I mean, you've fished these places before, but to a guy like me who's fished primarily the North and the Ozarks, the Midwest, and now, a little bit west here,
yeah.
These lakes you're talking about, man, these are like bucket list legendary. I have read about these. I grew up hearing about these lakes. When I went to Pickwick this year, the first couple of days, I was just literally taken aback with, I'm in a kayak and I'm looking around at these bluff walls and these beautiful scenery of Alabama, Tennessee. And I'm like, I'm freaking on Pickwick Lake, man. I mean, there have been champions, of our sport crowned on these bodies of water that you are just casually going out and fishing. I mean, do you find yourself getting caught up in some of that, or is it just kind of normal for you now?
Early on, I was getting caught up in the fact that I was fishing like a Santee Cooper or a Lake Murray, Pickwick, and I kind of settled in and still went like Pickwick. I just recently, a few weeks ago, just got back from Pickwick, fishing that championship, and I was going down a bank in the morning and I'm just staring off, and I mean, it was just so beautiful. And I'm thinking, man, how many big tournaments have been held here? Or, at large scale tournaments, or how many guys that are heavy hitters or hammers in our industry have fished these lakes and won on these lakes. And it's kind of a surreal moment when you're out there. But I don't know, at some point it kind of just clicks. And it said, then you tell yourself like, hey, it's time to go to work.
Yep. I think it's so important though that you do take a chance, because I mean, we're reminded every season that we should be extremely grateful for the fact that we get a chance to go out and do something like this that we love.
Absolutely.
And it's never guaranteed. You know what I mean? At any given moment, any given time, life happens, and we may never, have a chance to go do that again, at that location, maybe. And so, I just think it's well worth just kind of sitting, like you said, going down that bank and just taking that in, man, and just
soak it in. It feels good. It feels good. And for me, Pickwick Lake was in the beginning of the season, I said it started out pretty rough with, I had battery issues, which I don't anymore, thanks to X2 power. More to come on that. It started out a little rough for me. I didn't think I was going to make it. Again, I qualified for the third straight year for a regional championship, fishing the BFL. Trying to get to an All-American. But it didn't look possible. I started out in the hole and then just turned it on. And Clarks Hill was kind of that turnaround point. And from there, it kind of turned on. So when I got to Pickwick, the very first day of practice, I was taken back and I said, this was a hard fought season. It was a hard fought season in a new division. Took me back. And it's not only that, it's a beautiful place. I mean, you were there.
It is
gorgeous. I mean, it really is. It's a beautiful place.
I actually found myself on the final day. So 3 of us stayed in an Airbnb. I was pretty sure I found a place I could put my chin down and go grind and work out a small limit. And by the hearing everybody out there talking, it sounded like, that limit's going to go a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Because our field was there was a lot of guys that were not finding, there was, as always, there was like 5 to 10 that were just mashing on them. And it's like, I don't know if you're, are we fishing in the same lake? Where are you finding these things? But, and then the other guys, they were pretty confident. Actually, one of the guys here, he was on fish that he could have been in contention to win. And then we go out on day one and it's kind of squawks out on all of us, man. We all drove the struggle bus. I came home and to blew me away. I was actually sitting better than the other two buddies of mine. And that was not a good thing because I was not sitting that great at all. But our final day, we decided to go to a place that we knew we were not going to be in contention to cash a check, right?
Right.
So we went to a brand new ramp we had never been to in practice. We just wanted to go see this end of Pickwick and just go take a peek at it. And I remember thinking to myself, this is so freaking beautiful. I need to see if I can get my wife to come back and we just stay at this place over here and just maybe rent a boat or something, or just go out and let her see the lake. It was just, it's that kind of destination in some of those areas. It's just beautiful.
It's the TVA lakes, any of the lakes in Tennessee, but it's really those TVA lakes. They are all like that. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Cherokee, but Cherokee is another place where it takes you back. I mean, it took me a couple years ago. I fished a championship there. It took me a couple days, like a couple hours on the first day to really kind of ground myself, just because everything looked.
Wow. Old Hickory. Yeah. That's been the only other TVA that I've been on was Old Hickory for an ABA national championship. I got a chance to fish that.
Yeah. I see. I've never been up to Old Hickory.
Yep. That was still to this day, it's the longest I've ever driven in my boat to get to a fishing spot. I was looking for grass, and the place I had found grass was literally from the launch 40 miles upriver. And just jumped in the boat, took off, sipping coffee the whole way and dodging logs, man, because there was a lot of debris in that water.
On the topic of long runs, we left out of Pickwick State Park at one dam. For the first day of the tournament, I ran 56 miles up to the other. I think it was the Wilson Dam up there.
Wilson Dam, yeah.
I ran 56 miles. That was the longest run. I mean, it was like I was driving, and I'm like, I'm still driving. It's a long ride, man. Like,
is this still fresh water?
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, man, this is. So I practiced there, but I never made the run for gas, sake. I didn't make the run there in practice, but I knew between here and there, I mean, I can make it. I'm in a boat. I didn't anticipate it being that long of a run. It was bad. It was a long way.
Yeah, that is. And at that time, you've gone through 3 states. If you make that run like that, because you actually do cut through Mississippi. You start in Tennessee through Mississippi into Alabama. Yeah, you're through it.
Yeah, I was trekking. I put some miles on the boat, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you're there at Pickwick, and the most cringiest pictures that I've seen in a long time show up on my screen afterwards. I mean, you handle it like a pro as always. Adversity comes your way, you deal with it, move on. But like we were talking before, this one, I mean, that's got that creates a pucker factor, man. So talk us through what, and I'm going to, as you're talking, I'm going to share up some of those pictures you put up there.
Yeah. So on day 2 of the tournament, on day 1 of the tournament, I ended up finding a little, I actually found a bluff wall that was holding fish, and I found it late. And I said, I don't want to make a 56-mile run anymore. So I'm going to go and fish this. It was probably 20 miles from the ramp. Well, I got there and I fished it, but on the way back, I was going to another pocket that I had fish in. I was running out in the middle of Pickwick Lake in probably 80 something feet of water when I heard the loudest, metal pinging sound possible. So I went from about 70 some odd miles an hour to about 20, and my motor was shaking like it was getting ready to throw itself out into the lake. So I trimmed my big motor up, and I asked my co-owner, I said, could you kindly check back there to see if my prop is still intact? And he looked and he says, you might want to get up and see this. And right then I knew it was bad. But I was thinking there's no way I could have hit anything unless it was a floater out in the middle of the lake.
Right.
Well, when I went to look at it, the one of the ears of the prop were just, I mean, it was completely shredded apart. And I've never seen with my own eyes a prop do this. But then it got worse. It was that ear of the, after inspecting it, I found that ear had slung itself up into the gear case and cracked the actual lower unit.
Oh.
So yeah, there was all types of issues going on there. And, I say I was out in the middle of the lake. There was no one around me, no other competitors for as far as the eye could see. The water was 70 degrees and there was one, and I mean, absolutely one boat out there, and it was a wakeboard boat. And a guy with his family was maybe 20 yards from me. And I said, I used the trolling motor to get over to him, and I asked him to tow me back in. And, forgive me, I don't remember his name, but he took me back in. I said, hey, I've got $100 cash. Like, he's like, no. He's like, man, you're going to need it. So, yeah. So that was that story. The worst part about that is at that point, I was only about 8 pounds out of 12th place to take me into day 3. I kind of felt mentally, and fishing's a very emotional and mentally draining sport.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I felt drained, but at the same time, I said it could be worse. And I can only control what I can control. And it was time for me to start thinking about next year because my tournament was over.
Absolutely. We shared those pictures. I've never seen a prop shear like that. Like you said, if it just had to, from, I don't know, maybe just torque, in itself, just through that blade. But at the end of the day, fact is you were safe. You came home, and that's, that they're in win, got to win. Right. This stuff can be, it can be replaced. You can handle that. And you told me some cool stuff here. I'm not with them this year. This is the first time in many years that I've not applied back to their team just because I'm not allowed to put a Mercury on the back of my kayak, but I still will forever, bleed Mercury. That company, their motors have done me right my entire life. What was their call on this? What their final resolution?
Yeah, so I'm going to be getting we're going to warranty out the prop and the lower unit. So
wow.
So that's going through the process and everything now. So we're just waiting patiently through the best time to fish. I'm boatless. I have to stare at my friends right now. I'm even considering going to buy a kayak.
Yes.
I just want to get on the water.
I got a good deal on one. If you're ever interested, you let me know. I can get you connected up with a good new canoe, man. You would, they're perfect for big dudes like you and me, man. They handle us really well.
That's my big problem is I'm scared to get in a kayak. Yeah. I've got good balance, but kayaks make me nervous.
So I'm just going to flat out, now that I've had a chance to see, now full disclosure, I've never been in another kayak to fish out of, but I can tell you after fishing around them and seeing, many of my buddies that are out in them, the new Canoe Unlimited is a unique platform. Okay. And that 360 swivel seat that we have, our Fusion seat, combined with our well thought out and designed hull and 41-inch wide kayak, makes it so that a guy like my size, 6'1", 240, I can sit in that thing and, I'm moving around, grabbing tackle and such. And I never worry about it tipping. I mean, if anything's going to happen, I'm going to be a goofball and fall out of it before it ever flips. This thing it's not like, so the rule of thumb is skinnier, more tippy kayaks are fast. Okay. Yeah. I don't need fast. I have a trolling motor.
It's stable.
Hoorah. That's all I need. And so my battleship, as I'm pushing water out there with this thing, it's, and to be, in all honesty, the thing actually does do pretty well for a big kayak because there's other kayaks out there that are in that big class, size that weigh like 150 pounds. The Unlimited is only like 90 pounds or whatever. So yeah, it's all about gear. It's about what you choose. Hobie, they're the best of the best. but they're $5,000-$6,000,
Yeah.
for a kayak to get in. And that's a base model. That's no motors. That's no nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And most people I know, that's just, that's not in their wheelhouse right out the gates, when they're still trying to decide. The new canoe line, I mean, you can get into a new canoe with a motor on it, be it bow or transom mounted, and you're still right around, 3.
Yeah. See, that's, yeah.
No motor,
Cost.
no motor, you're just under 2. You know what I mean? It's like the motors shoot a third the price.
Yeah, I've seriously considered getting a kayak. This new wave of kayak fishing is awesome. So
It's big in your area.
Oh yeah. So there's tournaments to go out every weekend, basically kayak tournaments here. But I live here on Lake Murray. I'm about 5 minutes away from the ramp where all the kayaks go out of. So I said, on times like this, I'd love to have a kayak. I'd go. I would have went out today and paddled around, caught some fish. I haven't caught a fish since Pickwick, and we always talk about the off season and fishing, but now I'm starting to get antsy, and we're
Heck yeah. So here's the best. All my to those guys like you that are my buddies that are in the boat world. Here's what I'll tell you. Have you ever ridden a motorcycle on streets?
I have. Yep.
You know how a motorcycle makes you a way more defensive driver?
Mm-hmm.
Think of kayaks as motorcycles on the water, except we're not as nimble. Okay, we're not as agile. You are going to find yourself when you get in a kayak and you go bass fishing, you are going to notice things that you never noticed from the deck of your boat. You are going to start paying attention to certain things going, in one day, the wind has changed direction 6 times around here. In a boat, we maybe noticed it 2-3 times.
Yeah.
But in a kayak, dude, it's blowing you around. It's moving your vessel. It hones in certain skill sets inside a kayak. It has its deficiencies, of course, in the fact that I can't take off and run, to another location and fish another main lake point or get to go find grass. I launched here. I got to find something here. I got to pick all the meat off of this scrawny little chicken bone right here.
Does that help you sometimes? Because you don't have the ability to kick up that big motor and run 40 minutes down the way. You've got to fish here with what you have. And there's fish everywhere in the lake. So I think it would help a little bit more not being able to run.
It helps your skill set for sure. But what it does create in things that I had to learn the hard way is that I used to have, when I got in a boat, my objective was 5 in the boat. Okay. I don't care if it's a small limit, put 5 in the boat. And if I'm not doing that, then I got no business trying to step up to the next level.
Yeah.
Okay. In a kayak, that's an unrealistic view because this area that you're launching in, I mean, this is what you're stuck with, right? Huh. You can stretch out 4 or 5 miles and you're whooped. And so is your batteries by the end of it, but you can't just go find, this one pattern that is working all around. You have to, kind of hone into this area. It also changes the quality of fish that you're going to get. Putting, 5, 12 inchers, up on the board in a boat tournament, half-time 12 isn't even permitted, unless it's a spot, type thing. And that's in the Ozarks. But for us, even at the pro level, 12 is the minimum, because they have to figure that in, that you don't have the full body of water at your disposal to go see.
And now I'm thinking about that changes the way you attack practice. I mean,
oh my gosh. Yeah. Everything, your map study, your historical. I mean, to give away, one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me by a very accomplished pro, historical data.
Yeah.
You got to start looking back and where do the big guns, where did they do well? If I'm going to a new body of water, I'm going to look at the boat series. I'm going to look at all these other series. I'm spilling some beans right now for a lot of guys in the kayak game trying to come in. You look at tournaments about where these things happened. And at the highest level, they'll show you right where they did it.
Oh yeah.
That helps you if you don't know where to start. That kind of gives you an area. That's what I had to do at Bull Shoals.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's it's part of my repertoire.
Yeah.
I look at everything. I mean, anytime, anything in that information time, anything. I want to find everything. I want to know best colors.
I was going to say there's so much crossover between the boats and the kayak piece there. But they're, where the differences are, they're very thick divided lines just in how you approach a tournament. But at the end of the day, dude, catching fish. Right. I'm still throwing a jig. I'm still throwing, braided line and half that stuff. I'm still throwing, big vicious fishing, 17-pound floral around here wherever I can in that stuff. Or I've still got a 7.6, medium heavy rod that I'm slinging around with, crankbaits way out as far as I can. And so, yeah, it's still the same there.
We got to get you out here to Lake Murray and chase some of these blueback herring fish.
Yes.
We should do that. We should definitely get together next year.
I have to, we're kind of working on, some of our stop piece for the long haul runs there. We've got a tentative schedule that's coming out, and now I'm waiting on Bass to release theirs. Yeah. Because we'd like to hit a little bit more of their events. To me, they're the biggest name in kayak. Guys will argue that Hobie is the Hobie boss because the most money is won there, but the most linear recognizable name is Bass. There's just no way around that. You can't argue that. Hobie's done amazing things with their Bass Open Series. And I love how they're paying out anglers. But the Bass Kayaks National Series has the biggest name, longest, and the most possibility for a future and prestige that's going to come with it. So
there's a lot of good stuff coming with kayak. I pay attention to it, off to the side. I like to see what's going on. Some of my rod company mates actually fish some of the bass. His last name is Queen. For some reason, I just forget his name.
Jody Queen.
Jody Queen. Gosh,
he's
sorry,
part of. No,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say he's like the KVD of pretty much of kayak fishing, and we've had him on the show here.
Yeah, Jody. So he runs with Cashin fishing with myself. Yeah. So he's making some noise there, and it's got my attention. I like to see it. I like to see it.
What's awesome about Jody is that he has been one of the biggest inspirations for me. He didn't start competitively fishing until he was about 50.
Yeah.
Well, in 2 days, I turned 50. And he's now 57. And the guy pretty much, if he's going to touch on a body of water, whether he's been there or not, he's going to top 10 the thing almost all the time. And, from the reader glasses I use when I'm in my kayak down to some help when you throw 3,000-4,000 casts a day or whatever, and the arthritis starts kicking in and, wearing the hands out. These type of things all the way down to, he gave me the best advice when I was struggling, and it was time on the water, man. He knew without even, he knew that's what I was lacking with my approach. And so, we put more time on the water, and sure as heck, all of a sudden things started to come together and we're making better decisions. But Jody's awesome. He is the man for sure. So Cash and Rods. He was talking about some of those on our interview there, that there was a lot of just the way they're designed. They're
So something cool, just for the kayak world, they actually have an entire kayak series line. Yeah. So that's actually pretty cool. That, like I said, I see kayak fishing getting big. I see it, even the kayak classic, at the classic, I was paying attention to that. And I think a lot of people are. I think it's making a lot of noise, and and we kind of talked about this before, but it's giving a lot more anglers other opportunities to join, a prominent trail. I mean, you can do other things than, we know with boat prices, and I love my Falcon. I do. And I love, everything about a boat, but we know with boat prices that the average, my son, when he's 18 years old, may not be afforded the opportunity to get out and get a new boat and fish, but a kayak, I think that's more attainable for a lot of people. And there's a lot of really good fishermen that are kayak fishermen.
Kayak, cost of entry into one of those trails. And right now, most of your local things, the payouts aren't on par just yet. But if you go to like the national series, like Hobie Boss, that's serious money coming out of that one. Bass, Bass is equivalent to, I would say, on par with like BFL payouts right now. As the numbers increase, those payouts go even higher, for sure. Yeah. The All-American Kayak Series, which is the one of the main that I fish on the professional national series that's out there, that's on par with like BFL. But the big difference is, the cost of operation is a heck of a lot cheaper.
Way cheaper, especially with gas. There's so many. There's tons of areas that gas just in itself is going. It's starting to come back down now, but for a boat, 50-gallon boat, you're blowing a wad just to get out there and practice. Which, even at the highest level, whether they admit it or not, it changes the way you practice. You're not going to run 200 miles in practice, to go find fish. I'll rather pull my boat out and go put in that different ramp. I'd rather put gas in my 27-gallon truck than my 50-gallon boat. So.
Dude, when you said you ran 56 miles of Pickwick, I was just like, "Oh, ouch! That's gonna hurt the gas tank."
It hurt, but I went. It was at that point. That was on day one of the tournament. At that point, I said, because I had found fish everywhere in between, but I said, I'm here for a chance. I'm swinging. I'm swinging for the fence. Whatever happens, happens. And the way we weren't fishing for points. I was fishing for a chance to go fish in the All-American. It's a huge tournament, and I said, let's just do it. It took me. I was passing all of my other spots, my waypoints on my screen, my little 12-inch graph of I'm riding. I'm thinking, nope, keep going. I finally got all the way up, and it was a long run. It was a doozy. That was a good one. That
All-American's quite the deal, man. Few people have heard of a guy named Jacob Wheeler, who actually started off by winning the All-American.
I've heard of him once or twice.
Yeah. He's made a little bit of noise. For sure. Real quick before we move on to some current events here, Cashin, one of the things that they're doing along with a few other manufacturers, the kayak requirement in rods, what makes it so different, people immediately think, shorter fishing rods. That's their first thought. It's not necessarily the truth. In most cases, like I said, I still load up with a pair of 7.6s every time I go out. You will find some of the butt ends of these a little bit shorter, just because of the PFD that we have on. But even that 7.6 rod that I was throwing, that it fits, right. If you can see, it fits right in the, locks right in here for me. And so I can even pop it out if I need to, come up on it or whatever.
You're able to get good leverage.
Yep. Yeah. But the biggest piece is, I'll be honest with you, that I discovered, it's the power to action ratio of what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
In a kayak, your hook set, you can't get the kind of throw that you can get from the Decky or Falcon.
Yeah.
So in most cases, like the lightest, I do have a couple moderate fast. I no longer, other than my spin rods, I no longer have just moderate tips anymore. My action is a moderate fast or extra fast, because I need that backbone hooking up quick, because I can't do a long sweeping cast like I would do with a Carolina rig, where I just
step back and
exactly. So you have to get a good hook set in there. It's also affected the way I mess with my drag, quite a bit.
Yeah.
I use an egg beater a lot more than I ever have, just because sometimes my distance and accuracy is a little better with a spin cast, reel, than certain areas. So you do have to, kind of go through and just find what works best for you,
it changes the game a little bit.
And you can only take 8 rods in and I'm actually, some guys are only going out with like 6. And I'm like, I got a garage full of rods and reels sitting back here that it came out of my Nitro before I sold it. I'm like, gee, many Christmas.
Yeah. I am going to do. I'll let you know when it happens, but I just want to maybe go out and fish one kayak tournament just to do it. I think it'll be fun.
Check with some of your local outfitters that carry kayaks. A lot of times they'll have demo days, so you can just go out and test them. Sometimes they'll have rentals, fishing, kayaks that you can rent and take out. Yeah. That way you don't have to go full, and like I said, let me try to connect you with Josh Deal out in that neck of the woods. And he may know of some guys that actually have, because a lot of guys have a couple. If we were closer, I've got a garage with 4, kayaks sitting down here.
If we weren't so many states away,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're in a different day apart here.
I have another buddy that's you may have heard, Bailey Egbert. He's pretty, yeah. He's won a few things this year with Hobie and
Nice.
other things. He actually the Ike Foundation kayak tournament. He actually
Okay.
won. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Bailey's good, but he's like I've been paying attention to a lot of his stuff too, and
Yep.
I mean it's really catching fire. I mean it's slowly, it's secretly catching fire, but I think it's catching a lot of steam.
It's the fastest growing in the sport fishing industry right now. Our sector is it just further and further. Bass has said they're about to announce something big for next year, so we're all waiting to see what that's going to be. Yeah, it's like, all right, let's do it. Time to take it out a new door here, so we'll see what they do. So speaking of all these other areas here, we're talking around this, some of the current events that came out here. I don't know if you and I spoke about this on our last one, but I talked about this, that I could see this being a natural progression for the MLF. That MLF, when it first came out back in like 2011, was doing their cup events, and all of a sudden every fish they caught above a pound mattered, and it was cumulative, and it was about how many fish you could catch, not just your 5 biggest. Yeah. Cup events were a resounding success. Some of the best ratings on the Outdoor Channel that they had ever seen, people tuning into these cool events, these odd deals. Enter the Bass Pro Tour a couple of years back, and all of a sudden now they're going to carry the same format forward. 80 of the world's top anglers leave Bass, come over and FLW, and they start this thing. And then all of a sudden you got people coming out of the woodwork, that want to see 5 fish at the live well. They want to see them brought up to the scales. And so began the big, split out there. After a couple of years of doing this, and I think the Bass Pro Tour wanting to pick up its viewership a little bit higher, it looks like there's been the anglers, I think, is the biggest piece that people need to understand, is that the MLF is continuing with their promise, which is anglers decide the future of this, which is not happening in bass, which is not happening in any other sector of the, at the BFL level, at the Toyota series, at the Tackle Warehouse. None of us get a chance to, vote or have a say on this. The Bass Pro Tour, though, continues to be by angler vote. They decide. And so what they've gone to now is that they're going to catch, weigh, release, still maintain their conservation, but now they're only going to be judged on their 5 biggest fish.
Yeah.
Very, and what's funny is people out there, there's a group of folks out there that think this is all brand new and so weird. And I was like, hey, since about 2020, 2019, we've been doing catch, photo, release, getting judged on our 5 biggest. Guess what? It works, and we have very few fish that die in our format, very few. And, so it's one of those things that this is cool. They catch, weigh, release. What are your what are your thoughts on this about where it's going to go? I mean, is it,
I think it's good, and it will catch. I think it will catch on. I don't know that all, major companies that are running tournaments are going to adopt it, but I do know that Major League Fishing going to this change is good. I think that not only from a viewership standpoint, but a lot of fans that were true fans of 5 fish limits were they kind of were turned off with Major League Fishing when you go out and catch. And you and I fish, we know to go out even catch 100 2-pounders or 1-pounders. I mean, that's hard. I mean, that you can't do it everywhere. But
I think it's funny when guys are like, anybody can do that. Really?
No, you can't.
Jump in there. Go jump in one.
I've had several off-air conversations with people and where they say, anyone can go out and catch 71-pounders. You sure? You want to put some money on that? Because I would beg to differ. I would think that you can't.
Yep.
But my stance on it is I think MLF listen to the anglers. The anglers are for fish conservation. I mean, that is one of the things that they're not gonna come off of, and it's the reason why the big splits happened for fish conservation and the catch, weigh, release format. Now going to the catch, weigh, release, but weigh your best five. I think it's a great idea. It's going to bring more people back in. Honestly, I'm a five fish guy. I like taking five fish into the scales, but to think about the longevity of the sport and where the sport will go. So fishing right now, and this is just through some research that I've done, fishing right now is I believe it was 8 times more popular than it was when I was a kid.
Yep.
Right. There's a lot more people watching it. There's a lot more people buying fishing rods, a lot more fishing licenses being sold. But what that does is it increases the fishing pressure.
Big time.
If all these lakes, all these world, like we spoke about a little bit earlier, all these world-class lakes that everyone wants to fish, if they're going out there and shoving 5 fish in the live wells and keeping them in there all day just to go and take pictures and let them go at the end of the day, or even tournament guys, we take them and, we take good care of them in the live well, but they're still in the live well all day long.
Yeah.
The fish mortality rate. And I think that a lot of the research was the delayed fish mortality rate. That's a real thing.
The 5 days after release.
Yeah.
That was a huge one.
So that, given that, and I'm trying to be very open-minded about this because I do like both formats right now. But I do think the way of the future is catch, weigh, and release the 5 fish and be judged on those 5 fish at the end of the day. Now you won't have fish to bring to the scales, but I do like the thrill of still being able to see what your competitors are doing.
I was going to say the instant score tracker factor is what really changes a ton. I got to tell you, I've had an opportunity now on the kayak side to know our standings are readily available and people can watch it live as the event's going on. Now, mind you, we do have a fair number of sandbaggers out there that don't submit their catch right away. Sure. They catch them, they take their photo, they put it in Tourney X, where we can put it in what's called a live well. So you can just hold it in your live well, not submit it to the leaderboard right away. So in some cases, you're taking these pictures you can't submit because you don't have signal. So you have to hold tight till you get back to the ramp, basically, or get into an area of the lake where you can actually submit, the pictures then. But I've, like when I was at Lewis and Clark, it actually helped me make a call. I flipped it, and as opposed to pressure, I ended day 1 in 5th by the, I tried something brand new that I hadn't done at all on day 2. And it didn't pan out. So I went back into what I knew was, what I thought was working. Yeah. Only put a couple fish in the boat doing that. And I'm thinking, what's going on? And by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, I look at the live leaderboard. I'm sitting in 11th. And I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Well, immediately my brain goes, wait a minute. That just probably means this thing is starting to fish more normal. Because day 1, it was fishing weird. I was like one of only 8 guys that put a limit in the boat out of 60 anglers. It was just because I junk fished it. Yeah. I had like a chatterbait, I had a swim bait, I had a buzz bait, I had all different fish that I had put in there just from throwing everything at them that I could.
Bite something.
Yeah, well, it was from my days in the boat fishing, man, just learning how to junk fish fast. And I did that and got my limit through, a pretty good, about a mile circle area back there. But at any rate, my point was that having that live leaderboard there, it adds the nerve factor. I mean, I watched myself climb. And after I started culling everything out, now I'm sitting in 3rd place and I'm a 1/4 inch out of 2nd. And I'm like, one more cull and we've got 2nd and we're knocking on 1st place. It's like I had a 15 incher still on the board that looking to find one of those 18s. If I could have culled that thing out, it would have been game on. But yeah, man, that's a nerve-wracking piece that throws in there that is super exciting to watch and super exciting to compete.
It's a game changer. Like it would I'm thinking about it on the boater side just because that's what I've done. If I had a score tracker like Bass Pro Tour is going to have next year, I mean, with an hour or 2 left, if I was in 11th place, I would know, I can go throw this jig down a couple banks and see if I can upgrade these 3 fish. This might be a win. That would at least tell me, because right now I'm fishing and it's just, I'm hoping I'm either top 10 or winning it. Who knows? I think it adds a different element. I think Major League Fishing is onto something. And what I've been explaining to a lot of people is, there's a lot of people that hate everything about Major League Fishing right now, and rightfully so, right? They've been FLW fans for their whole life, or they've been bass fans for their whole life. But
Yep.
and there's a few other shows to talk about. It can't fail. We don't want it. It shouldn't fail. Anything new to the sport should not fail, because if it fails, that has, even if you fish bass or bass kayaks here, if one of the pillars fail, that immediately impacts the way that you
Hurts all of us
going forward. So
yep.
It has to thrive, and I think these companies, and I don't put words in anyone's mouth, but I think they're starting to realize that they need each other more than what they thought they did. Right? Yep. Everything feeds off of each other. It's all one industry, and you think about how big the industry is, right? The industry is there, and everyone has their spot in it. It's getting bigger, but it's not right now. It's not as big as it can be, and it won't be until everyone stops going at each other's necks.
Well, dude, and I said this a while back, and I still believe this firmly. There are so many anglers that should be sending Christmas cards to those 80 Bass Pro Tour guys that left FLW and Bass, because no disrespect meant whatsoever. Had those 80 anglers not left, we'd have never heard of their names. Absolutely. Okay, those guys opened the door for a whole new generation of elite hooks to come on up.
Yep.
But I'm sorry. If I put Edwin Evers, Ott Defoe, and these guys back in the mix again, back on the same old lakes that they've been fishing for the last 20 years, they're going to clean house. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's just the way it is. That's how good. I mean, these guys are, there's elite, and then there's another class, and that's what you have sitting up there, and the winnings prove it. Right. The winnings, the money and the history, it proves it. Oh, yeah. So when they left, it opened up so many more opportunities. Now, the downside that's been talked about on other podcasts out there is that it cut into the money. Yep, it did. But guess what it created? Non-endemic sponsorship became a priority, which is the natural. This is what I believe this new 5 fish, deal is with MLA. It's the next stage in the evolution.
Yeah.
I don't think that what the Bass Pro Tour is about to do is the final product.
Oh, no.
But it most certainly is another step, and it's another move forward. And if people stop looking at the next step as the end all story, if they look at it as, well, this is the next step in our progression. But like you said, there does need to be an acceptance piece to progression. We have to progress because we're going to outgrow it. Natural resources are not infinite, folks. I mean, and that's, so many people don't understand that.
And the way I use it as at my everyday job, I build digital robotics. It's what I do for automations, and it's called an iterative process, right? The first iteration is never going to be as good as the final iteration, right? It's going to get progressively better. We're going to see things that, in Major League Fishing is doing this right now. They're going to see things that they absolutely feel like they should have never done. But what you do, it's how you learn. You can't learn until you make a mistake, right? Or in this case, it's not even a mistake. You can't learn until you figure out something that the anglers don't like, or your viewers don't like, or your sponsors don't like. They would have come out and hit a home run right away and had a perfect product. I don't think I would have trusted it as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the only way that we're going to know is if people engage and watch and then give feedback. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean you got to be a tool. Just say, hey, I'm just not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of this. I'm not cool. All right. Well, the anglers clearly listen. They're paying attention. And they'll go back and they'll talk it over, and they'll continue to, to evolve this thing and make it, better. But to do nothing, to sit back and just keep things the way they have always been, is also equally not an acceptable move.
Yeah.
You can only bury your head in the hydrilla for so long. You know what I mean? It's, the world's changing. Things are happening. Like you said, our sport's growing, and we have to, if we're going to be responsible sports people, we have to evolve with it and do what we can so that your kids can have an opportunity to fish and do those type of things.
Absolutely.
And speaking of since we last spoke, you've welcomed a new addition to the Fluker family here. How is everybody doing? And so now you've got yourself, your wife, and 2 kids now. Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
Boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl. Yeah.
That's right. What are their names?
So we have DJ. He's my oldest. He's actually turning 4 at the end of this month. And then Zoe, which is my youngest, and she turns 7 months on the 4th.
And folks, if you're not following David's fishing page, you need to. His kids are absolutely gorgeous. They're adorable. And DJ, I think, might be a little hook in the making.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he ate up with fishing. He loves fishing.
That's awesome.
He's at that age right now where I can't get him out there for more than a couple hours, but during that couple hours, he's fully engaged.
So I think it was Alton Jones Sr. that gave the best advice. When he would take out Alton Jones Jr. when he was little, they would leave the lake when Alton Jones Jr. was having a blast.
Yeah.
He wouldn't wait until it got so boring and bad. He would, catch 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, awesome, buddy. All right, we're going to hang it up. We're going to go in for the day and we'll come back out the next time. So basically what it got exactly. And I'm like, now that's some genius next level stuff right there. Me neither.
I need to note that one down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always leave when he's like sitting on the ground, bawling and tears.
Yep. No, that was always the move. I had a little body of water that I'd take my kids out to, and we'd do a full lap around there. And we'd usually try to get out after. It just worked out that we'd leave, after one full lap, and the mosquitoes started getting nuts out there. The state bird of Minnesota.
Those skeeters.
Exactly. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. I'm trying to think of some of the other news that just dropped out there. There's a bunch of. Do you know what your schedule looks like next year for the BFLs in your division?
So I am actually not fishing the BFLs next year. I'm fishing the Toyotas, the Central Division next year.
Sweet. You heard it here first, folks. Awesome stuff.
So last year it was I wanted to take my stab at the Toyotas last year. Unfortunately, we had a big relocation. We had a baby.
Yep.
We're building a house. We have a lot of things kind of going on, but next year is that year. Next year is the year that I'm making the jump up. So I'll be fishing
Triple A's.
There it is. So I'll be going out of we've got Gunnersville, Lewis Smith, and Chickamauga next year.
Nice.
Chickamauga, I think is how you say it.
Chickamauga. Yeah. Chick.
Chick. I think Chick is like the universally accepted name for that lake. So
it's Chick and then something.
Chick something after. But so we're actually going to all these lakes at like some of the primo times, man. So we'll be at Gunnersville in February again. Last year I heard it was one of the coldest tournaments that anyone's ever fished last year.
Yeah.
But we'll be there in February. We'll go to Lewis Smith in mid-April, and then we'll be up at Chick in March. So
So now are you only fishing the one division of the Toyota series? So just the 3 events. Okay.
I'm gonna fish those 3 events, and then we have something here in South Carolina called the CBC. It's the Carolina Bass Challenge. So I'll be fishing that as well. It's a partner deal. It's a partner tournament deal, but it's one of the largest here in really in this side of the country.
And that'll keep you pretty busy then.
It'll keep me pretty busy, and then I'll jackpot or not jackpot, but I'll jump in a few just because I live here on Murray. I'll fish both. They come to Murray twice next year, so I'll fish Murray twice.
Nice.
Depending on how I do in the first one, I may fish the second BFL just because I still do have that. I still want to get to an All-American.
Yeah.
That's still something, no matter how far I take this, getting to an All-American is still something that I want to scratch off of that career goal list. But that's the plan for next year.
And guys in our sport, we tend to do better the busier we are. It sounds counterproductive, but it truly is. It's that time on the water piece, man. You start honing things in. I know the 2 years that I only got a chance to fish like 5 events each year, I drove the struggle bus each one of those because I couldn't get out wreck fishing. I was we were moving or COVID hit, things were not working out. And my events, I just couldn't show up the week of practice and expect to do well.
Yeah.
And because it's just about those, tiny little decisions that you're making out there.
Those very tiny decisions that you learn from, we call it just windshield time. You learn from riding around the lake or, or catching a fish or,
Yeah.
No,
So that's awesome. You're going to stay busy with that. And then, man, go in with all guns blazing, dude. That's super, super exciting. That's going to be fun to, these guys, they live and breathe it in the Toyota series, and that's the AAAs, right? I mean, that's
that's the next step up. So the Toyotas are the way to qualify now into the invitationals, and the invitationals are the way into the Bass Pro Tour. So it is the natural progression for Major League Fishing, but it's a pretty big step. There's a lot of guys, a lot of really good guys that fish the Toyotas. But the way it comes from having an athletic or sports background. The way I look at it is you play up to your competition. So I'll compete, and if I get my teeth kicked in, I know what to expect for the next time. But I'll be back.
I say this a lot. I taught this in football for all those years that I was coaching. Iron sharpens iron. You cannot go and just stay in a comfy zone. You got to push yourself. It's why we chose to, our first rookie year, we went after the All-American. Proud to say we ended up 19th in points, by the end of the season out of, 100 plus pointed anglers. That felt pretty good, to get out there. The CKB, Colorado Kayak Bassmasters. This is a straight killers here in Colorado. These guys, 20 anglers get in, and all 20 have a legitimate shot of winning at just about any body of water they go to. That's awesome to go against that caliber, and that's what you're doing, man. That's what you got to do, is keep pushing on that stuff. So, well, that's going to be super fun to watch and stick with. And yes, we need to figure out something. I have some connections down in the North Alabama by Pickwick, literally right on Pickwick there. I know some people, that's where Roman's, headquarters is at now. And like I said, after meeting Josh, I know he fishes Clarksville quite a bit. I'm going to try to get you guys connected for next season. That would be super awesome. And now's the time for you to do this Toyota series, man. You still have fantastic sponsorship. I want to make sure that we cover all the people that are, these companies that are making this possible for you to go after that. Of course, right out the gates, man. Is it Ratcliffe?
It's Ratliff Contracting.
Ratliff Contracting. Yep.
Ratliff is actually my title sponsor. I can't say enough amazing things about Ratliff. They've actually stood by me. They can see my dream, and they're doing everything they can to help me get there.
That's awesome, man.
Support like that, and they are non-endemic. Obviously, they're a roofing company, but support like that. I mean, this is a conversation I just had with them. It lets me fish clear. I don't have to think about how I'm gonna get my next entry fee paid, or it allows me to at least take that stress off my shoulders. But then you have Blue Rock Custom Tackle, TH Marine Boat Wrench, which thank you, Daniel Trent over at Boat Wrench. He's actually taking care of my boat right now. My boat's actually over at the shop. I just took it there today.
Nice.
He's taking care of it, making sure that she gets back to me in time for me to get out on the lakes and do some winter fishing.
Very cool.
Then you got TH Marine, Blue Rock Custom Tackle. Can't forget those guys. I'm making an amazing jig and other things. They have a lot of other things. The jig is just, it's one of those things that I, because it's who I am, it's what I throw.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you got TH Marine, Power Pole, Mercury.
Are you working with X2, or are you just running X2 gear right now?
Yeah. So I am in the end process here of finalizing the deal here with X2.
Good stuff.
So I think it's pretty, I'll announce it here later on. But yeah, so it's it's good stuff. So it all, random story about that. It came about a relationship with them after my previous batteries just kind of, went out at Lake Murray here, and I went and bought with my own money an X2 power battery, and made a few posts, and we were kind of talking back and forth, and then amazing at the end of the year here, I got a call and we started talking. So that's
nice.
I think there's some good stuff to come there.
X2 is a sponsor, partner with the National Professional Anglers Association, which I'm a proud member of, one of 1,400 members strong. The MPAA is something that is just a resource for those of us trying to make a living in some fashion or form in fishing. And yeah, X2 is part of that, that they support that whole piece there. So I run with lithiums now in my kayak, and I run Amped Outdoors. They're kind of specialized in what they do for us there. But if I still, we're in the boat side of things, I would be looking at X2, obviously just because of their continued support of the MPAA. It was a huge thing.
Yeah. X2, that, even without a partnership with X2, I would still run X2 lithium control motor batteries and a blue top cranking battery, just because I believed in what they were doing and trusted in the power. But yeah, to your point, I mean, they support so many different things that, I think I think they're a great company. So.
Yeah. And, anybody that supports any company that supports the MPAA, what they're supporting there is not just a batch of 1,400 different anglers out there. They're also supporting protecting the fishing industry, because the MPAA's president, which is a nonprofit, he makes sure that our interests are watched when they're doing dumb things out there, like with that whole battle over who owns the water, in certain tributaries, where they were not actually even allowing fishermen to go through channels to get to another body of water in some states, because it was actually the landowners were claiming they owned the top of the water too. And it's like, okay, we need to have that. We need a voice out there from the sport fishing industry. Because you think about charters and captains and fishing guides and, tournament side of things.
Absolutely, yeah.
The impact people are having with that, it's like, so yeah, it's big conservation news, and it's big conservation topics that are out there. The MPAA helps represent us out there and give us a voice when it comes to those things. And the benefits are phenomenal for its members. From a lot of the partners that are out there. So good stuff. We, like I said,
two more before I forget.
Yep.
Cashin fishing rods.
Cashin.
Can't forget Cashin and Wu Tungsten. Those are the companies that support me. And like we kind of talked about this on the first episode, the first time we talked, is the companies that believed in me, even as a as a discount deal type, that those companies that were on board with me are companies I'll stick with, for throughout the duration of my career. No matter how high I take the career, those are companies that I will stick with because they stuck with me. So, yeah, I think that gets lost a lot in our industry. Everyone's wanting to leave for the hottest, newest jig or the hottest, newest rod or the cheapest. But I won't generalize that and say everyone, but that does get lost in our industry. There's not much loyalty, and everyone will jump for the next newest thing. And
that's the key. It's the loyalty factor. Unfortunately, the financial strain on anglers trying to compete and make a run at this is so great that it creates an adversity there that people fall victim to, that greed piece, and they think, if I make this deal, I can get this better. I can go this direction, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, they jump ship. Next thing you know, they're out here doing things. And our industry does not take too kindly to that. Look at what happened. Poor KVD. He left, one side, he left Oakley to go to a company still owned by the same company that owns Oakley. Yeah. And half of his fan base just lost their marbles. And he's like, whoa, settle down. It's like he still thinks they're great sunglasses. He's just trying to fine tune it.
I say that, and I'm kind of like both sides on everything, but I say that, but as far as the loyalty, but I also think about guys that do this to feed their families. And,
sure.
And so I always have to have a compassion part for that, where maybe they don't want to leave, but then unfortunately they fish for a living and they have to. Just because maybe dollar money got cut back, which in those cases I do understand. But like to your point, KVD didn't badmouth Oakley. He just said,
never.
I just went here because for whatever reason. So
and guys at our level don't think about that, man. You've got wisdom beyond your ears. in that. And that's why people that are sponsoring you are so happy with you, and that it's a wise decision to sponsor you, because you get that part. You understand the business side of that. That's huge. I was just talking with a few buddies out there that were of the goofball line like myself that are doing this for a living now out here. And it's what we've been saying too, is that we're one title sponsor piece away from being able to carry this thing so much further. We right now, the title sponsor that I have, with us is Julie Campbell, which is my wife. She's the one that keeps us afloat while I chase this thing, and try to make something come out of it. But yeah, we know that it's about who you know and making those contact pieces. So you're in an awesome position. That's good stuff. Well, awesome, man. Listen, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here and conclude this. We need to make a promise to one another that we are going to try to do this a couple more times throughout this next season.
Yeah,
we're getting on a regular schedule of every Mondays is when the True Patriot podcast is going to drop a new episode. I want to try to get on once a week. We're dropping these episodes out there. It just means that I've got a lot of video recording to do during my off season.
Yeah.
And to put a lot of this stuff together, we're, at least, once every 2 weeks, when tournament season kicks in, we may move to that schedule. Sure. Just because I'm on the road, quite a bit, at that point.
Yeah.
And we'll do recap videos and things like that. But yeah, man, there'll be plenty of chance for us to connect up, especially with the Toyota series stuff, man. Let's you and I stay chatting, and that way we can do recaps with you if you want. Let you do a full recap of each one of those. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. Next year, I'm really going to kick off. This year, I was going to, but next year I am going to kick off my YouTube and just kind of document my journey and kind of do like some travel vlogs and do recaps and everything. So yeah, that'll be fun, man.
Please do. That's going to be fun to follow you along, man. It's going to be fun to watch you.
Yeah, this is this is by request. A few people have asked me, and they said, like, man, you've got so much cool stuff going on, but this is a day and age where everybody wants to watch a video. And these are from some, I've got buddies that, that are fishing pro trails and everything. They're like, just do it, man. Just do it. Go ahead and do it. Who wants to see it? So I think it's good. I think it's good. I'm going to do it.
Once you get in, I was the same way. It's like, videos, do I really got to get after? Yes. I'll tell you, I do audiobooks as I travel, because like everything for me is like a minimum 12 hours to get to. Okay. From where I'm at. So I do audiobooks, a ton of them. One of them was on digital marketing piece, kind of expanding on some of my schooling. And as of 2020, the largest search engine is Google, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. The second largest, that it's the second largest, and it has more searches on it than all of the other top 5. So 3 others combined still don't equal number 2, YouTube.
Yeah, I can see it.
Google owns that too.
Yeah, Google's a monopoly. They own YouTube.
People want to see video instructions. They don't want to listen. They don't want to read. They want to go there. There's got to be a video on this.
I am one of them, man. I am one. I'm like,
same.
Paint this wall. How do I take this lock off? Oh, yeah. So it's
exactly.
I'm one of them. I'll just say that. I watch. You'd be surprised with how much YouTube content I consume on a monthly basis. I
probably wouldn't now after getting that schooling, because it is that powerful of an engine that's out there. So when you start putting stuff up and you learn the algorithms of YouTube, man, it can really take your brand a long, long way. And sponsors love that. That's just more people that are seeing their stuff.
That's what my goal is I want to give somebody a platform on my page where they can see some cool stuff, but also highlight my sponsors. So I think it'll be good. I'll come to you for some, I've got some advice, or I need some advice. I'll come to you for need advice.
I'm not a hardcore, experience, but I definitely feel like, we've picked up the basics. We understand where we're at there. And now I need to commit and go to that next level too. So we'll do anything we can to help boost your channel, man. We'll throw it out there for sure. So awesome. Well, listen, send all of our best from the land of the True Patriot Outfitters here to you and your beautiful family. We can't thank you enough, man, for spending your time with us here. And we are super, super stoked and excited to watch what you do next year, man. That is going to be some awesome, awesome stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. You take care, and we will be in touch soon.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
1, 2, 3.